Attention passionate Montreal, Canadiens fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the Atlantic Division and it could shake up the entire conference. We're talking about a direct impact on Montreal Canadiens' path to another Stanley Cup run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Montreal Canadiens fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Montreal Canadiens fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. Today we're diving deep into some intriguing updates that have come out recently, and let me tell you, they could have some serious repercussions for the Canadiens. We all know that Montreal has been quietly building a solid roster, but now, with some interesting developments on the horizon, especially regarding their defense, the team's future looks even more fascinating. It's not just about the current season anymore, it's about what's coming next, the strategic moves, the contracts, and how players like Mike Matheson fit into this picture. Starting with Matheson, he's a key figure on this team, a guy who's been logging heavy minutes over the past 2 seasons, averaging over 25 minutes per game. That's no small feat in today's NHL, especially for a defenseman who's often relied upon in critical situations. At 31 years old, Matheson is entering the final year of his contract, which has a cap hit of $4.8 million. Now, this is where things get interesting because, despite the fact that he's in the last year of his deal, Matheson isn't looking to leave Montreal. His agent, Philippe Lecavalier, made that very clear in an interview. Matheson has no control over whether he stays or goes, but what he can control is his performance and his desire to remain a Montreal Canadien. And he's made it clear that he wants to stay. What's striking here is the level of professionalism and dedication Matheson shows. His agent pointed out that he takes excellent care of himself, closely monitors his diet, stays in top shape, and works tirelessly to perform at his best. That kind of mindset is exactly what the Canadiens need if they want to build a team that's competitive now and in the future. Montreal's defense core is quite deep, with players like Noah Dobson, Kaiden Guhle, Lane Hutson, and Alexander Carrier, all of whom bring different strengths to the table. Plus, the team has some promising prospects like Jaden Struble and Arbor Xhekaj, who are fighting for that 6th defense spot, and David Reinbacher, who's eager to crack the lineup next season. But here's the thing, Struble and Xhekaj require waivers to be sent down, which complicates their situation. The team will have to make some tough decisions, especially with the upcoming training camp. It's a dynamic situation because Montreal has built a solid defensive core, but the question remains, what will they do with Matheson? Will they try to re-sign him? If so, at what cost? Because, let's face it, his offensive numbers dipped last year, and that's something to consider. Lane Hutson has been taking more responsibility and quarterbacking the power play, which might mean that Matheson's offensive role could evolve. This leads us to a broader discussion about the team's future, because the Canadiens aren't just looking at this season, they're planning ahead. The defense is already stacked, but the management could look for ways to optimize the roster, whether that's extending Matheson or exploring trade options if the contract negotiations don't go as planned. The key here is that Matheson is a valuable asset, and Montreal will likely want to keep him if they can reach an agreement, especially given his leadership and experience. Switching gears a bit, let's talk about some of the other news that's stirring the pot across the league, because the NHL offseason is always a time full of speculation, especially with pending free agents and trade talks heating up. For example, the Colorado Avalanche are a team to watch, particularly because they're trying to address their center depth before training camp. It's no secret that they have some key players like Martin Necas, Mikko Rantanen, and Mitch Marner. But with Rantanen and Marner signing extensions this offseason for less than their market value, the Avalanche are in a tricky spot. If they can re-sign Necas at a reasonable number, they'll be in good shape, but if not, they might have to consider trading him to maximize their return. This is where the NHL's intricate contract negotiations come into play. The Avalanche's top 6 defensemen are mostly right-handed shots, and that creates some positional challenges. They might need to shift one of those defensemen to the offside or look to add a left-handed shot at the trade deadline to bolster their blue line. It's all about flexibility and strategic moves, especially with the salary cap in mind. The same applies to their forward lines. If they find themselves short on depth at center, acquiring a solid third-line center might be on the table, especially if Jack Drury can't handle the role of third-line center at the NHL level. And this brings us back to the Canadiens, because the league is always in flux, and every move by one team can influence the entire conference. Montreal, with its young core and promising prospects, could benefit from these league-wide shifts. The team's management is likely watching these developments closely, knowing that their window of opportunity is now, especially with players like Lane Hutson taking on bigger roles and the team's continued focus on developing homegrown talent. Now I want to pause here for a second. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Montreal Canadiens news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick, and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. Looking ahead, the Canadiens have a lot to be optimistic about. They're entering an exciting phase where their young players are starting to mature, and the veterans are providing leadership and stability. The upcoming season, which begins on October 7th for the 2025-26 campaign, could be a turning point. The team has already shown flashes of brilliance, especially with their defensive prospects, and if they manage to keep key players like Matheson, that stability could translate into real playoff success. The coaching staff, led by Martin St. Louis, has been emphasizing a fast-paced, aggressive style of play, and that could suit the roster's strengths perfectly. Of course, there are still questions to answer. Will Matheson be a part of that future? Can the Canadiens keep their core intact while adding the right pieces to push for a deeper playoff run? And what about the league-wide moves that could impact their plans? These are all exciting topics that we'll be monitoring closely as the offseason unfolds. The Canadiens are in a position where they can be aggressive, but also strategic, making moves that serve both their immediate needs and long-term goals. And now, Montreal Canadiens fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on all this? Do you think Matheson will stay in Montreal? Do you believe he still has enough in the tank to be a key piece for the team? Or are you more interested in how the team will navigate the complex trade market and free agency to strengthen their roster? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Canadiens. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Montreal Canadiens news. Thanks for sticking with us through this deep dive into what's shaping up to be a very intriguing offseason for the Canadiens. Whether it's contract negotiations, prospects fighting for their spot, or league-wide moves that could influence their strategy, there's plenty to get excited about. Keep your eyes peeled, stay passionate, and as always, let's support our team through thick and thin. Because at the end of the day, we're all part of this Canadiens family, and together, we're aiming for another Stanley Cup.